Hello, my friends. Welcome to Here's What We Know, the podcast of unexpected conversations. And I stand in awe of P.J. Turner. I am. You
Man.
are, dude. I don't usually do. You know, I have a lot of podcasts will start off with, "Oh, tell me your background." I hate
Yeah.
that. I hate it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really do. But I am such a fan of your work and the Break It Down show, and we're going to get into that here in just a minute. And we're going to tell you about all the other stuff. But one of the reasons I'm wearing my Oakland A's cap is because every time I watch Pete's show on YouTube, he's wearing either an Oakland A's cap or a Minnesota Twins cap. And so this is my what do they call that? Homage.
Homage.
This is my homage to you, Pete. So this is the Oakland A's, not the Sacramento Stockton A's.
Yeah.
This is the Oakland A's hat.
I love it. Yeah, I've been an A's fan for a long time, man. You and I both are Bay Area people. We know the same kinds of things, and I appreciate it. I'm going to remain an A's fan because I like them. They hooked me a long time ago, back in the 1970s, and so I'm not gonna. No use in pulling the hook out now, man. I love baseball. I have a bunch of hats. I might wear a Dodger hat. I'm from California, so I'll root for the Padres if I choose to. I'll root for the Dodgers. I'll root for anybody I want. I'm the boss of me.
Listen, I grew up in the South, so I was a Braves fan. This is how old I am. I can remember when Dale Murphy was a catcher.
Yeah, that's old. That's
right.
Old. Yeah.
So I remember that. I remember Bob Horner, who's more out of shape than I am right now,
for sure,
playing third base.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he was just a round mound of rebound before Charles Barkley ever walked onto this earth.
Yeah.
And baseball, I have to be honest. I like baseball. I don't love baseball because there's just so damn much of it, right? 162 games.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, as the kids say.
Yeah, man.
How do you just keep that passion up?
I don't worry about the game itself, the actual physical playing of the game. I enjoy watching it. If I choose to spend the money on a package, usually the Dodgers, I'll watch pretty reliably, or I'll do work while the game is on, so I find that meditative. But if I don't watch a game, it don't matter to me. I will track the game on the tracker, but that is the most non-exciting thing ever. It's like 95 ball. There's no sound. It's just the digital display of it. That's how I track the game most of the time. But every night I find myself doing it, and I track a bunch of games. I don't have to watch the game to enjoy it. And then I look and see what players are doing. And, look, I've watched enough baseball to know what's going on in the field. And I just love it. I love reading about it. I love writing about it. I love looking up old history. I love the whole thing for whatever reason. And it hasn't always been like the upfront thing. But right now in this era of my life, it is one of the eras where I just focus a lot of my creative and hobby attention on baseball.
Well, here's my take on you, Pete. You're so damn smart. You just have to have something that engages your brain. And baseball is math. I mean, it really is. Football is a war of attrition, and basketball is artistry, and baseball is math. Yeah. And I can see it totally falling right into your bailiwick.
Yeah.
For a nice $3 word.
Yeah, no, it is. And when you said football, I think about attrition. You're right. I love to think about, and I don't have to be a particular fan of anything. I root for things, but if I don't get my way, hey, that's all right. There's a lot of people going to get their way, and I'm glad for them. So I'm not as passionate on the winning side of it. There's so much entertainment within it. Back when I don't watch football anymore, I gave up on it a long time ago, but when I watched Bill Parcells, he's like, listen, we're going to have a fist fight. I think we're going to take you guys down for 35 minutes. You're going to get us for 25 minutes. Good luck beating us in those 25 minutes. And they would come out and it'd be like 14-10 and they'd win because they just had the ball. And we're going to try to have the ball last. It was a very simple thing, but there was so much complexity within that. How do you dominate the game? Well, back then you had to be able to run the ball well. You had to be tough, and they trained that way. And it was amazing because that's exactly what you would do. Like, we've had the ball for 35 minutes. We're going to win most of those games. I'll take my chances from there. It was incredible, which is to see that pattern play out over and over again. Not true for every team, but that's what I love about baseball. That's what I love about sports in general, is when you can see the patterns. Like, the Dodgers are going to field at least 40 pitchers this year. 40 pitchers. the vast majority of them are completely exchangeable for any other pitcher. They've somehow figured out how to win by de-emphasizing high-end quality throughout their pitching rotation and their relievers. And so I just love to look at that pattern. So there's a lot of, I'm not even a math person, but there's so much math that I can handle. Like algebra, man, I'm terrible at algebra. But when I look at stats and analysis and how a machine works, this is professional for me. Like I see these things. I see the output, and then I can go backwards and go, what did they put in? And I can look at the input and see what they put out. And I can go, oh, I see what you're doing.
Do you see why I'm a fan of this guy's work? And we'll get around and talk about all this stuff. But I even told him, I said, listen, we're going to go down all these damn rabbit holes. And I can't even tell you we'll end up talking about any of the stuff that I thought we might talk about. Because Pete, there's some people like me who knows a little about a lot. Then there are those weird people like Pete. And again, I don't care if it embarrasses him or not. He's one of those few people who know a lot about a lot, not just a little. I know enough just to have a little bit of a conversation, but he knows a lot. And that's what I love about it. But I want to stay on this tangent right now as far as like baseball, football. Quick thing on football. Why'd you give up on football? Was it ethical?
Well, there was some, for me, some ethical stuff about it. So I'll just discuss that part first. I had a problem with the outcomes, financial, lifestyle. When guys are dying in their 40s and 50s and they play football, whether they're shooting themselves or eating themselves into oblivion, I had a problem with that. When guys are going broke, I got a problem with that. It happens in all sports. It happens with all people, but it was happening too frequently with football for my comfort. When I would see these kids coming out of these very, very, very hard and challenging upbringings, and they would not be set up for life when they had every occasion to do it. It was hard to see, and when I started to realize how damaging football was, look, I'm an old man now, I'm 55, right? So I used to love the whole gladiatorial thing about it. Now I see it and I'm like, oh, I can't stand to see it. I know they've worked on trying to fix that, but I couldn't handle that. And especially when NFL lied about it, when they lied about the damage that was going on, when they didn't say, oh, we need to take care of these dudes. And look, I'm being really unfair because there's a lot of things that they've done and a lot of people that did take care of dudes. I'm the first guy to say, hey, Eddie DeBartolo, when Jeff Fuller broke his back playing football for the Niners, before he was out of the hospital, Eddie DeBartolo said to Jeff, don't ever worry about a thing. You're going to be taken care of for life. Your kids are going to go to college. You are going to be fine. And that was like, they might have announced that at the damn game where he got hurt. I mean, it was immediate. And so I understand there's a lot of people that have done a lot of great things, but the game itself, I just don't dig it. I don't dig the way they move money around. I don't dig the way, hey, you're a center, you're still NFL quality, but we're going to cut you loose because you're expensive now. We're going to use this young kid, and so that all that, man, for whatever reason, I just feel like we talked about yesterday when we had our fails show yesterday. I got filled up on the NFL. I might watch it during the Super Bowl, but pretty much I don't. I'm pretty antagonistic towards the NFL now. And the other thing is the interminable replays and the redefining of what a catch is. Look, I don't mind a little bit of higher quality umping and checking the umps. I don't mind a little bit of that. But I don't want you to zoom in to the nth degree, to a pixel, to see. Please stop. What did the guy in the field say? Is that a catch? Great. 2 feet down? Great. That's a catch. Let's leave it at that, But like zooming and zooming and zooming. Oh my God. Please. I didn't enjoy it anymore, and so I stopped watching it. I don't mind anybody else rooting for it. I know people love it. I don't care about it when I see it. I don't like it. I left the game, and I don't miss it.
I fight it. I fight what you're saying, right? Because I grew up in South Alabama, right?
Yeah.
I grew up in still Alabama, Roll Tide, the whole thing. We never played soccer. I'd never seen soccer. I would watch Sunday during the day when there was not any football on.
Yeah.
I would watch the NHL on NBC, and the only reason I watched it is because the goalie's mask. I thought it was so cool. But yeah, I face that all the time. I have a teenage son. He plays tackle football, right? And I will say it's completely different, the game you and I grew up with. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're even involved in a hit that they think's just a hard hit, they will automatically pull the kid out. Kid's not, they pull him out
Yeah.
for a couple of, to make
Yeah.
sure you're okay. At least
Yeah.
my son's school does. But yeah, I know what these guys are going through. And I know these kids are sacrificing themselves for our enjoyment.
Yeah.
Are they remunerated? Yeah, they are. Can they make more money? Yeah. The sad thing is that's the other side of capitalism. I'm in broadcasting, right? My industry has completely changed. What happens? Well, you get a guy like me who finally gets a little bit of money, and they'll fire me to hire somebody who
Yeah.
makes insanely low amounts of money because they're still living with their parents, right? And that's the thing. And so but I fight that thing with you all the time. I have nothing but respect for somebody who can go, I just can't watch anymore. I
Yeah.
know what they're doing and I know what the sacrifices they are. And I've had a chance because of what I do, just like you do. I've had a chance to spend time with NFL players.
Right.
And man, watching a 60-year-old NFL player move, man,
Yeah.
it's rough. It's
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah. It is. And again, they get to choose that challenge, but are they smart enough to make that choice when they're 18 and they want to just buy their mama a house, and how hard are they pushed? The well-being of these dudes, it's particularly hard. And you're right, like, I don't play golf, but I go to golf events on occasion. And when I see those old guys, man, a lot of them are great, but all of them are like, oh, I've had wrist rebuilt. I've had that, and so I get uncomfortable with it, but look, again, I understand it's entertainment. People love it. They get entertained by it. They should celebrate it. I'm aware enough to know that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time now, even though, we grew up in the Bay, or at least you grew up in Alabama. But heck, Kenny Stabler, all these guys, right? How about Kenny Stabler?
Kenny Stabler, Joe Namath, Bart Starr, all Alabama guys.
There can't be a Kenny
this,
Stabler today. This is one of my problems with the NFL. It's so corporate. You can't have a guy grab a Kurz, get into a jet boat, and just haul ass across the lake anymore. They're like, oh my goodness, someone might see you with the shirt off. Oh, come on.
Yeah. Well, and but he was never playing for 5 years, $280 million either, right?
Yeah.
35 at $350 million.
Yeah.
So,
and then they waited until he was dead to enshrine him. I can't, and that's for me is just let these guys in. Why are we waiting until Dick Allen is dead to put him in the Hall of Fame?
100% agree. Now I will go back. My son plays quarterback for his team. Right.
Yeah.
And so he said, man, he goes, do you think Tom Brady's the greatest of all time? And I sit back and say, well, if you look at the championships, yes.
Yeah. Right.
But my take is he's the greatest of his era.
Right.
If you put Tom Brady back in 1968, is he better? And does he have the body type that's going to last and get hit and stand up to it? If he's playing in the 70s, do you see the punishment Terry Bradshaw took?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, he had a guy pick him up and throw him down on his head.
Yeah.
Does Tom Brady survive that? Right. So, and again, if you took a Johnny Unitas and put him in today's game, you think he'd be good? Yes. I think he'd be pretty good.
He'd air it out.
And you put him on a team. Yeah. And you put him on a team that has all the resources. Yeah. So I hesitate on the GOAT call because football changes so much.
Right.
So much. Larry Bird would be good today. Right.
Sure.
And by the same token, Steph Curry would be great yesterday, but there'd be no 3-point shot. My favorite NBA player was Pete Maravich.
Yeah.
He was fantastic. Pete Maravich would be the king of all media if he played today.
Yeah.
Right. But he had the most points and didn't play with the 3-point line.
I know.
And he had the most points. So it's the errors that I get. But football, most of all, kind of, as you can tell, fires me up because it's just such a different game.
Yeah.
Remember, when I started watching football, cornerbacks could legally tackle the wide receivers within 5 yards.
Right. Yeah, it's the
Think
big
about
game.
that.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of the GOAT argument in general because it's so dismissive of all these other great players. We didn't talk about Roman Gabriel. You think Roman Gabriel will be able to
love Roman Gabriel?
Who the hell's Roman Gabriel? That's exactly why I don't worry about the GOAT. Like Tom Brady dominated his era probably more than any other quarterback ever. To me, that makes him the GOAT. Yes, he has the rings, but because he was constantly in the Super Bowl and constantly in the AFC Championship. That's kind of where I draw the line. The numbers are completely irrelevant, and I don't like the time machine players. Like when they're like, "Oh, Ohtani played in the 1920s." I'm like, well, if he played in the 1920s, that means he's probably born around 1900, which means he has a 1 in 4 chance of not surviving to 18 years old. So you have to take the whole load. See
what I tell you about a guy who knows a lot about a lot? That's Pete. That's Pete. I love that argument. Now to go forward a little bit.
Yeah, please.
And again, y'all, you have no idea how much stuff this man knows and how many people he's talked to. But you're just going to have to excuse me and forgive me because I'm just going all over the map. I know you're a baseball guy. Is Shohei Ohtani the greatest baseball player of all time?
No, he's in the middle of his career. How dismissive is that? Like if you think so, great. I'm glad you all think so. But if you're asking me, no, because he's in the middle of his career. You cannot tell me he is 2 times better than Babe Ruth or all these other guys that have these long careers with tons of production. No, he is sensational. He's wonderful. I love watching him play. I live kind of right by the Angels Stadium, so I can go whenever I want. I saw him play in the Angels. I saw him play in the outfield. How many people can say that, right? Like this doesn't happen very often. So I'm not in any way against Shohei Ohtani, but let's just let him have his career and let's enjoy it. Let's not cast him to the end of his career and be like, now that he's done, oh my gosh, is he great? I don't even know that his pitching is all that valuable, frankly. And so when I look at him, he's incredible. He's one of the greatest baseball players of all time. He probably is already Hall of Fame worthy, and if not, it'll happen.
Is he the best baseball player today? Is he the baseball player? Is he the best baseball player today?
I'm not even sure he's the best hitter today. And look, when I say that, on the road, right? I'm saying on the road, like in the Tour de France, where like everybody's in a big pile and you're like, where's the yellow jersey? I got to find her. And you can't really see it because there's 100 dudes these guys are all great. But if you want to talk about the guy who is probably the best hitter, and this is just how I'm measuring it, a lot of ways to do this, it's probably Juan Soto. Juan Soto is already so he just completed his age 26 season here. This weekend, he'll complete it. No one's ever had more walks through age 26. He's got almost 250 home runs already at age 26. It's remarkable. And the players that are his peers through age 26 are guys like Mickey Mantle, Eddie Matthews, like some of the greatest sluggers of all time. And those guys played in a different era where aging was maybe a little bit harder. For sure, Mickey, because he already came broken and then loved the bottle, right? And so even he says, man, I wasted my time. Well, Juan Soto's not wasting his talent. Does that mean he's going to survive the 30s and be just as good as he? No, he's unsustainably great right now. And so if I'm going to predict, like I just said you shouldn't do, I'd say Juan Soto is likely the greatest hitter right now. But Freddie Freeman is the king because he's done the most things. And so if Ohtani wants to be better, he's going to have to hit a whole lot more. And he's not, he didn't have the earliest start. That helps. Early starts help. And he had some injury time. And he's probably going to lose some more time to injury because he's going to blow out next. He's already blown out 2 elbows. So he'll blow out a 3rd elbow. Those things don't last longer as they get blown out. So I look at that. Yeah, Aaron Judge also, he's incredible. It's mind-bending how great he is. And he has a giant mountain range. But if we were to look at all the mountain ranges, Mount Soto is probably going to be bigger than all of them.
Fascinating. See, that's it. That's the stuff. I mean, and I know those things. Again, I follow baseball. I'm not a passionate guy.
Yeah.
Ohtani to me is just he's such a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
I'm going to get hurt. Well, I'm going to be a hitter. Oh, well, I'm going to figure out how to get 3 extra feet on my run so I can steal bases, whatever I want to do, I will figure it out. That's what I like Ohtani. Judge is not going to give you that. Soto's not going to give you that. Now, if we're talking just hitters, but Ohtani, when he played the outfield, pretty damn good outfielder.
I don't know if Soto's going to make it, but Soto's going for 40-40 right now. He is trying to get to 40 stolen bases. So you think about that too. Very similar, right? And this is not like a back and forth about who's better because they're all incredible. Yeah. Like Gary, I'm a big believer in this. There's like a line, and once you're over it, you're great. You're just great. It doesn't matter how great or you are. Like you're just great. And so all these players are great. And so I don't want to be hard on him. If I have to pick the guy, I'm going to say Soto probably is the guy. I don't know what the future holds. Right now, whose peak is higher, Judges or time? I don't know. I just want to watch him play. I don't need to dismiss Soto and oh gosh, Freddie Freeman, all these other guys that are incredible. I don't need to dismiss them by saying, "Oh, you're not better than Aaron Judge." Aaron Judge is it's impossible to be this good. I don't know why anybody even throws up him a strike to hit, you know? And we're talking about him in terms of like Barry Bonds. But Judge has his flaws, right? It took him a long time to get going. Apparently, he's not going to be a regular human in age normally because he should already be declining, but it seems like he might have gotten better this year. Oh my God. So I I just love all the different characters in the game. I love, and this we're talking about baseball probably too much, but I love this guy named Jackson Chorio. He started baseball this year for the second year in a row as the youngest player in the league. And he's out there getting hits. Probably the most boring player you ever want to follow for his whole career. But here's the thing. He started playing at 20, and that just never happens anymore. And so if he's just above average for 20 years, he's going to be one of the greatest Hall of Famers of all time because he just has so much time to work on his game and add to his mountain. So when I see guys like that, I just get a thrill out of watching a guy that basically no one's ever heard of. But there are the Brewers in first place with the most wins in baseball. Well, someone's doing something good.
Wow. You're right. I mean, you don't see football, you can't have them start too young. And in
Right.
basketball, you're overmatched. So they stop that too. And it's one of the reasons I love soccer. I really do. And you'll see 16-year-olds come on who are just fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you got a couple playing in the Premier League right now. Lamar just signed his second long-term contract, and he's like 20.
I know. It's great. Yeah. I'm
It's
big on
it's
F1
just
too, by the way.
well, once we started watching the Drive to Survive thing,
Sure.
right? My wife and I started watching it, and you started seeing these kids and the personalities of it. I don't think they do a good enough job of explaining why they're elite level athletes. And
Yeah.
I did see that. You could find it online about they have this reaction thing where the balls drop and they have to
Yeah.
grab it. And they had an NFL quarterback try to do it and could not do it at all. And then
Right.
they bring up, I think George Russell, and he just
Yeah.
their reaction times are crazy.
Yeah.
For you to be the top of your game, you have to be elite. I don't care what it is.
Right.
You have to be elite.
Right.
So to get there. And I love that. And also, when you're one screw up and you die,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a different game.
All of the margin of error has been taken out of F1, at least in this current era. So they know to the gram what they're going to weigh when they show up. They know to the gram how much they're going to eat every day. It's all like hyper attention to detail and strict, life. They can go out and have a good time, but then they have to stop because they've got to race, and so it's amazing the difference, the tolerance for differences is just zero, and so if you're not quite good enough, you're not going to compete. And that means competing in the middle is just as fascinating as competing at the top end of the sport. And it's amazing to think about the strategies that they take on. And it takes some time to learn this, right? There's a pretty high learning barrier to get in. But once you start to get in, you realize all the permutations that are going on. And sometimes the race just ends up the way the race is going to end up. You're like, oh, this is just going to be a normal race. But when it just starts going crazy and all these side strategies start playing, and you're like, oh my gosh, anything can still happen. And we're 3/4 of the way through the race. It's a great example of it's a very like strategy and tactics on the field at the same time. And it's amazing to me what they do. And me and my special someone, we just root for everybody. We hope everybody has a great race, and we want to see people do well. And we're like, oh, so and so had a bad day, but we don't root against anybody. And I love that about the sport, is that you can just genuinely care about all 20 athletes and root for them. I think it's neat.
Well, and with that show, what that show has done is has extended drivers' longevity.
Sure.
Because the window for F1 drivers, which is what made Lewis Hamilton so amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Usually you have 2-3 years because you know what? I got a 19-year-old who's really fast.
That's right.
I got a 19, 20-year-olds coming up. And so they would get their 2 or 3 years at the top teams, and then they would move down to the bottom teams, and then they would sit there and then whatever. Now, because they are personalities, and Max Verstappen's really good.
Yeah.
He's going to be there. But
Yeah.
Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri and George Russell are going to get longer runs
Yeah.
because now they're personalities.
Yeah. 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 It's amazing. And they generate a ton of money because it's a high end product that allows middle income folks a seat at the table. And so, yeah, I'm not going to buy a Tag Heuer watch for $30,000, but I might for 800, And so like these products, you're like, God, it's super cool that they do that. Oh, that's super cool. And yeah, it's just exotic. It's sexy. It's probably the sexiest major sport, because it's just everybody's there. It's like a championship fight. When you show up at a championship fight, if you're paying real money to go, you're dressing up. You might be there in a tuxedo. For sure, the ladies are all bam, they're awesome. And so it's very similar to that. But a fight is just a little less sexy than a F1 race. But you see all these gorgeous models and everything. It's incredible. It's an incredible sport that blends a lot of things. And for me, also like 2 hours and you're done. Nice in and out, and you're like, wow, that was great.
Yeah, my wife would be more excited if I took her to an F1 race than any sporting event.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
basketball, football, and she enjoys them all.
Yeah.
But she realized the social thing
Yeah.
that an F1 race. I mean, she does a lot of work in Vegas, and they're always trying to like, hey, come over here, let us do stuff for you, because she controls a lot of money that goes into Vegas.
Yeah.
And she's like, would you like to go to an F1 race? I said, would you like to go to an F1 race?
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, I think I would. I think I'm like, okay. I said, but you realize it doesn't start till like 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And we're
The
old
Vegas
people, we're
race,
kids.
yeah.
And then she's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And it's cold.
I'm ready to be, it's cool. I'm ready to be wrong about this, but one of the things too about F1 is like, look, women can do whatever they want. And I love that about America and the modern world. So this is not about against women things, but the female stereotype of a lady who watches football was like the dude, she's very managed, like, whoa, 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 and like cheering, right? Whereas the female in F1 can be absolutely as feminine as they want to be. Whereas like if you showed up in the NFL thing and you got your jersey on, you got a bunch of makeup on, or you wore a gown to a Super Bowl party, so I think that there's a femininity gate that's more wide for F1 to get more women in. Not a thing wrong with being a dog pound lady Browns fan. Not a thing wrong with that. But if you're like, I'm sophisticated, I'm haute couture, I'm these things, well, then you're not going to go sit in the dog pound. Or if you are, you're gonna be a toned down version of yourself. I think.
And if you could be in a suite, right? Like if you could be in a suite, which is what, that's the real fun thing about F1, because unlike a football game, you're not really watching the whole thing all the time.
Right.
They just come by you every now and then. Oh, there they go. Okay, now, and when you were saying,
Yeah.
and then Charlotte told me, okay, there they go. That Robbie, it's just a different mindset than the people who are literally sitting there watching it. It's like anything else. It's easier and better. Golf is better to watch on TV. It just is, because you can see everything.
Yeah.
If you're in a golf course, you're only seeing one hole or one group. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
But football, same thing. Football is I'm surprised anybody goes to an NFL stadium, especially in Kansas City and Green Bay. I don't give a damn what your tradition is. If it's 13 below, count me out.
How about South Alabama? Who wants to do that? That's got to be awful. I mean, look,
So
I know
hard.
people love going out to football games in the South, but just I lived in Florida, Southern Florida, and to be out there in the sun all day is intense. It's like it makes me not want to be out there.
My son's wanted to see where Dad grew up. So this summer we went to the little small town I'm from, and we get off the plane, and my oldest looks at me and he goes, "The air is heavy."
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And about 3 or 4 days into it, because it's a million, we went there for the 4th of July. It's a million degrees.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, you want to hear my my uphill 5 miles uphill both ways story? And he goes, what? I said, I was 22 years old before I ever lived in a house with an air conditioning unit.
Yeah.
And he was like, what?
No.
I said, yeah. I lived in this with no AC, none whatsoever.
Yeah.
And he's like, nope. No, Dad. He goes, I thought this would be a fun place to like live, because it's so wide open. And they got to ride ATVs and shoot guns and all the stuff that they just got to guy redneck out.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, I don't know if I could just take this heat, Dad. I don't know if I could take it.
Yeah. And
And
you
I'm like, well, that's the
can.
reason I live in
Yeah.
California, son.
You can adapt. But yeah, like California is just so nice, you know? It's funny. Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier, and I don't know if I got this right, but when you and I were talking about F1, I think we both saw the same car at the same time. And I think we both looked right to left and I think we were pretty much in sync as our car went by. You'll have to watch later on to let me know, but I think we saw the same car.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so because because Pete has done this. One of the reasons Pete has done, I'm not up to 300 shows yet, but I'm pretty damn proud of having 250,
Hell
260,
yeah, that's
270
huge.
shows
Yeah.
out. Right? How many are you at now?
I quit counting at 2000. I just quit counting. You know, because
2,000.
yeah.
And it's the Break It Down show. And dude, your guest list is just short of Rogan. The people you have on I was going through your guest list because I only found you like, I don't know, 11, not even a year ago.
Yeah.
So, and then I started going through your guest list and I'm like, how the hell do you even get these people?
It's
Because
crazy.
listen, I'm at the stage now where people will reach out and say, hey, can I be on and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
but the people you get, some of the people you have is stunning.
Yeah.
And especially, can I, before we get down that thing, one more thing. What was your real job growing up? Tell everybody what you did.
Oh my most professional career was, I was a spy. I was a spy for the Army. I was a counterintelligence agent. So that's what I did. And I had to discuss that too. But yeah, look, we've lived colorful lives, you know, and when you get to do these things that are scary to regular people are just normal for me. You know, I don't let fear dictate what I do. And if anything, if something's scary, I do it because I've learned that in that fear, there's a lot of me not being up to the challenge because of me, not because of the challenge. And it's all of a sudden you've done this thing and you're like, oh, I did that. Let me go do that again. And so I could take on bigger and harder things because of the conflict and the things I've put myself through.
What was the Charlie Kirk quote that came out? It's easy to be brave. Just say yes.
Yeah, just say yes. That
Right?
topic terrifies me.
Yes.
Let's do it. You know, yeah. Yeah, because, you know, even if I do it poorly, I've done it. And yeah, I mean, it's not a comfortable thing, but I don't want to be comfortable. I'm not a political person. I don't really care who the president is. And I'm glad to say that. I'm also glad to look at policy from both sides of the aisle because I don't belong to anything. I'm trying to be the best version of me, which sounds kind of self-centered, but hey, if I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of somebody else. And so, yeah, I look at life as like, this is my experience. I don't choose to be against anybody, but I choose to engage however I want to engage. And when folks want to put something on me, especially like on next, people say all kinds of crazy things. I'm like, hey, if you want to know what I think, the guy to ask looks like this guy. I'm the arbiter of what I think. I'm in charge of that. So if you want to put words in my mouth, I'm going to tell you, no, thanks. I have my own words. Why don't you ask me? And then don't reinterpret my words. Just I'm careful with what I say. I make mistakes all the time, but I'm careful with what I say. So if I say something, I mean it. And when someone will say to me, and Gary, you tell me if you've had this happen before. Someone will say, "Oh, Pete, you said something to me one time," and I think, "Oh God, what did I say?" You know, because sometimes I give drunk uncle advice, right? And and they'll say it, and I'm like, oh, I totally believe I would have said that because that sounds exactly like something I would have said. And that's how I handled spying. That's how I've handled everything. And so that when someone's like, "You gave me the best advice," it doesn't surprise me, but it does kind of terrify me because I've said some crazy things in my time. But typically, I pass the test for myself, and I'm like, "Oh, good." I still think that is a good way to go. And look, my advice isn't all that crazy. It isn't all that unique. It's like, you know, take care of yourself, whatever, you know, try to do one more thing, whatever it is, right? Like there's all these kind of things. I say the same thing everybody else says, but for whatever reason, I'm a little bit more compelling sometimes.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. And I don't. When people try to figure out who I am, I don't. I don't agree with anybody 100% of the time. I don't agree with me 100% of the time.
Totally.
I'll read something or see something I wrote a year or 3 year or 5 years ago, and I'll be like, nah, that ain't that. That's no. I don't know what the hell was going on in my life at that point, but no. And that's my thing. I hate ideologues right? So that's that's the way to lose me quickest. If I
Same.
realize that you are my guy or my girl, right or wrong, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. I'm the
And
same way.
my thing is the same thing. I've said it all along. And I give this advice to everybody. I give it to my sons. I give it to everybody I try to live by. 2 words: pay attention.
Sure.
If you could just pay attention, man, life gets a lot easier and a lot more clear,
Yeah.
because they are lions out there waiting for the one wildebeest to not pay attention. And the rest of the wildebeest are all going to run because there's 300 of us. So we're going to let the one who's not paying attention get eaten.
Yeah.
Right. And so many things go wrong. Businesses, governments, everybody is counting on you to not pay attention. And
Yeah.
and the world of spying. Listen, I always thought what I did for a living was great going into the podcast business, because I've been interviewing people forever, right? For doing this, I've been doing it a long time, until I met you. I'm like, oh my God, somebody who is in counterintelligence and spying, whose job it is to talk to people and listen intently enough to find out what they're really saying and not what you just think they're saying. Man.
Mhm.
I'm like, well, of course, that's who we should have hosting a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and my job, look, podcast, the way I approach it and the way I run my show is it's part sales job, it's part news reporter, and it's 100% spy job. You know, I build a network. I talk to people. The show itself is a report. I might do a series of shows on a given topic and become a lot smarter in that topic because of that. And so I talk, for the most part, when I'm at my best, I let the other person talk predominant portion of the time, you know, especially if they get cooking. The other thing I do, I realized, and this isn't necessarily a spy thing, but it's something I learned when I was spying, was I'll bring in Gary to co-host, right? Because Gary is particularly aligned with the person that I'm having on as the primary guest. And those two, if they start talking, if I get them cooking, I just get on back in the back seat, you know, and I let those guys get after it. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story here, because so there's a guy named Sebastian Younger, world famous author. He's done all kinds. Yeah. And he said he's a man's man. He's like our modern Hemingway. Right. And he's a friend. I've got his phone number. If I want to call him, I can. And I don't bug any of these people, but if I choose to, they know that, like, oh, Pete's calling. He must have something to say. So I know him. And I also know another guy named Josh Montz. Now, you may not know Josh, but Josh was shot and killed in Iraq about 15 years ago, right? But he's still with us. He was dead for 15. When I say shot and killed, 15 minutes he was dead. 15 minutes.
Wow.
They got him back. So while he was dead, his life changed. And he's now getting a PhD in that transition, the beyond the veil world, you know, and he's trying to help us understand it by visiting as much as he can that place through yoga and other things. And he's looked at all of the religious, you know, things. A real expert in this thing. He died from a wound to his femoral artery, and I think this is right. This I believe is what happened. Yeah, and then Sebastian almost died, and he had a wound. He had a blowout in one of his arteries behind his spleen, and they only just saved his life. He most of the time he dies. He happened to make all of these seemingly innocuous decisions in the right order to give himself a chance to live. And the doctor happened to have gone to a seminar and his book called In My Time of Dying. It's great. He's an absolute atheist. And he's like, I had a near-death experience, and I, had to deal with things that I'm not programmed to deal with, because I'm still an atheist. But this thing happened to me, and I realized that there was something else. And I saw my dad. My dad's been dead. My dad was an atheist. My dad was so. He has this whole experience, but he also had this most important here. He had this friend named Tim, also a reporter, also a war correspondent like him. And Tim died from a wound to his femoral artery. He bled out, and Sebastian's carried this survivor's guilt with him for 2 decades now. And I was able to sit him down across from Josh on my show. And I let those guys talk about being dead for most of the show. And Sebastian, because he's a reporter, he's like, Josh, can I ask you a question about when you died? And you don't have to, and Josh is like, no, it's totally fine. By the way, for me to get Josh on the show, you don't see him on shows. He doesn't go on shows. That's another spy thing. So I got Josh is like, yeah, you can ask me about my death. It's fine. And she's like, so you died the same way that Tim died. I've always felt guilty if it wasn't me. I felt guilty that I wasn't there with it. What did he experience when he passed? What was it like for him? It's like, oh, what a question. What a question to ask a guy who died the same way your friend died. And Josh, like a fucking monster, goes, it was pure bliss. He wasn't worried about a thing. He slipped off and was a smile on his face if he could possibly smile. Just the most gentle passing ever. He was great. And you could see the weight, at least temporarily, come off Sebastian's back. You know how weights are. They might jump right back on a couple hours later.
Yeah.
But Sebastian was able to possibly have that weight removed and know that his friend, was like, it's perfect joy. And Josh will say, and this will sound weird, Josh will say, death is a peak experience. And you're just like, wow, that's crazy, But at the conclusion, as your brain is shutting down and the last few thoughts are going through, he's like, you're not worried about what you're going to have for lunch. You're not worried about anything. You're just blissful. Now, is that always the case? Maybe not, right? But Josh has been dead. That's what he says.
Well, I'll share this with you. My mother, when I was growing up, she was on telephone and got struck by lightning. Oof. And it knocked her 15 feet across the room. And she always told the story that she looked down and saw her body.
Yeah.
She could see it. And then she heard, not your time. And it was back in.
Mm-hmm.
When she got up and walked into, years later, she got up and walked into the kitchen because her back hurt. My stepfather and my sister-in-law's brother, who was an EMT, happened to be there watching TV. They heard her fall. They go in. He gives her, they call the ambulance. She comes to, she looks up and she goes, don't worry about me. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And dies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
She had that heart attack.
I mean, but she had the moment to come back and go, and her only thought was, don't worry about me. I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's always wonderful to take that. And that's the stuff. And that's what you do. That's like, such a great story about finding that hidden thing that wouldn't have come out.
Yeah.
That especially when you put microphones in front of people's face, they're not going to say that in a bar after the third drink. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I got to get them in the bar.
You're
right?
there without the third drink.
Right. Yeah. And I get it. I get them both in the bar. Neither guy had to do that. Sebastian easily could have said, I'm not into that. He easily could have said that, but he didn't. And for whatever reason, I have the credibility with him to get him to come back on my show. Now, look, he'll go on veteran shows. Like, he's great about that stuff. So it's not that much of a pull, but he doesn't do a lot of shows in general. So look for him. He's on stuff, but he's also on my stuff. So there's that part there. And Josh, you cannot dig Josh out of his house. He's not interested in public anything anymore. He might get back into it as he completes his education, but it's so improbable to get those two on. And then because of the things I've done and the age that I am and everything, I don't have to be the guy that talks in that episode. I know to do the Vin Scully thing and just shut up. And I'm guilty of talking too much all the time, but when I get it right and I sit in the back seat and I let those guys ask each other those great questions, what am I going to do to tell Sebastian Younger how to ask questions? I don't need to do that. He's world class at it, So I just let those guys go at it. And I love talking to Josh. I talk to Josh as often as I can. He lives in Vegas. And every time I go to Vegas, I look him. I've got a lot of friends, but I always look him up. And if he's got time for me, I take it because I know what the experience of talking to him is going to be like. And it's always wonderful.
I've known a lot of people, and I know a lot of people, but the fact that you have access to these people, and the beautiful thing I like when I listen to your show is that they know you.
Yeah.
You kidded with Jay Moore that, he was shocked that you weren't at his intervention. Right. And I'm like, that's not something somebody just says. Right. That's something that, you're there and he confided, have you seen me snort Adderall? I mean, and the stuff that they have, I tell you, the one that shocked me, the one that I saw that you had, and I'm like, there's just no damn way.
Yeah.
When I sat back and saw your guest list and saw Andy Summers from the Police, I bet you I've seen 2 interviews with him in 30, 40 years. You
And I
talk
think,
about somebody who doesn't do a damn thing.
yeah.
He doesn't do a damn thing.
And I think we
yet
got the
you
best
had it.
one that anybody's seen. We got him so good, and their whole story before the show was great because there was a little bit of a snafu on like, are we coming or not? You know, what time are we coming? And so we had the plan 100% right because we're going to follow the rules. But Andy Summers is a rock star. Andy Summers guitar tech works for a rock star, and so we show up, ding dong, knock on the door, and it's at his studio, and it's in Santa Monica, and nobody answers. Ding dong. And I'm looking through my phone because John and I are doing this one in tandem. John and I started the show together. And so John and I are doing this in tandem. So he's doing his part of trying to bring on the bell. And I'm going through the email because if I have to start calling somebody, you know, whatever. And finally, like a voice comes on. Hello, you know, like English guy. It's like, yeah, we're here to interview Andy Summers. No, you're not. Like, and so he started with objections, you know, and John does his. John is great. John and I've been through so many battles together. And so John is talking to him. So the guy comes down and I'm like, oh, look, I got the email right here. And he's like, I know you guys are legitimate. I just wasn't sure at first, you know, now that I'm down here because I believe you now and I know it's true. But he's like, Andy's not here. Gonna have to go to Andy's house. And so now we had to pack up our show and drive. And it's not far, right? But we're like on a timeline. You know, so I'm like, well, all right, timeline shot. We're gonna drive to Andy. So we drive up to Andy Summers' house. Andy Summers lives off of one of the busiest streets in LA, and you would never know it for a second. His house is tucked away, like they do with the people that don't want to be and shouldn't be bothered all the time. So we go to his house, and he basically gets his ass out of bed. If I remember correctly, he was wearing his pajamas still. You know, he got a t-shirt and some pajama pants. He's good enough for us. We don't care about that. But then we proceeded to have this great conversation. And John likes to do intros. I tend to go cold open, but John introduces Andy Summers. And what we both agree is that we don't bring up the police because that's old shit. That's shit from 40 years ago. He didn't want to talk about that. And so he's like, you know, Andy Summers is a multimedia artist focusing on music and pictures through the images he's collected throughout his career. And Andy stopped in his tracks and looked at John, and it changed the whole thing because we weren't there to talk about the police. We were there to talk about what was interesting to Andy. And we dug in. Now, we got to some police stuff, but we never said, are you guys going to get back together? What a waste of time. Why would I ask him that? I know the answer is no. And if they do decide, they're not going to tell me. I'm not going to break that news. But what I did ask him was, that song, Mother, was it supposed to make me uncomfortable? And he's like, well, it's called Mother. What do you think? You know, and because that song's hard to listen to, right? But it was a piece of art. It wasn't necessarily designed to be rhythmic and wonderful. It was designed to convey this feeling, and he does it perfectly. And so when people get down on that song, if they even remember that song anymore, that's it. So we get to explore stuff like that with Andy Summers, you know, and that gets you invited back, man. When you're allowing them to talk about the thing that this is all spy stuff. When you get someone excited, like you've got a guitar behind your head, right? I've got that in my brain.
Yeah.
If I was having you on my show, I'd be like, tell me about that guitar. And you're going to have a story, and you're going to become, this is my bet, you're going to become more passionate in that moment because you're going to stop talking to me and you're going to start thinking about that guitar and whatever is involved. Oh, that's my kids, blah, blah, whatever the thing is going to be. And now I've got you in a different state of mind. And that's what we did with Andy. And that's why our interview with him is so wonderful, because between John and I, we were able to get him out of his normal mode, off his normal sheet. We allowed him to plug the thing that he wanted to plug, but also make Andy Summers super interesting so that people who are like, man, I hadn't thought about going to an Andy Summers, you know, art expo, right? He was doing like this whole thing with sound and photographs around the nation. He was going to do these things. And it was wonderful. It was an incredible exchange, but it comes from that experience. John is great at what he brings. He and I know how to hit the ball back and forth together. Like we're like a great doubles partner whenever we get on the road and do these things. And yeah, it's marvelous. It's wonderful to be able to have a good partner. It's wonderful to have a subject that wants to go on the ride with us. And then you can have mind-blowing. I can tell you more stuff about that interview. It sticks in my brain because I was so keyed up for it, and we nailed it. And I was so stoked about that.
That's the thing I like. And you've, not to give you my trade secrets, but the same thing. I don't try to talk about what you think I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to Andy Summers, I'm going to be like, how the hell do you hear different? And he'd be like, what do you mean? I'm like, the beauty of what you do is it was all different. It was all different beats. You never were on the beat anything. Any great police song, it's because you were a little bit off the beat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, have you always been that way? And the other thing is, what did it feel like being so damn much older than them? Did it
Yeah.
piss you off?
Sure.
Did
Right.
it piss you off? Did that piss you off? Because you were an old guy. You had done it all, and these upstarts, and what the hell?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the songs are there. I get nuts and bolts over songs. I do a lot of singers, a lot of songwriters and stuff like that. I love how the creative process goes. And that's what you tapped into him,
Yeah.
right? Is his creative process. You and we would have both gone about it. We were looking for the same thing, just
Yeah.
different roads.
Right. And we'll find
Right?
different
And
things, but
that's what
it'll all be gold. Right. That's the whole thing. One of the things he said, because I was interested in like how he sees art, because he doesn't abide the rules. He does art for art's sake. And that's not a safe
that's
bet.
the thing I was talking about his music. He never abided by the rules. He did it all.
Exactly. And he's like, well, that's my job, Pete. My job is to be out there in front of you. I'm not supposed to be right next to you. I'm not supposed to be just in front. And my job is to be hard to get to so that you have to go on this journey. Changed my life.
It's a fascinating mix of a fascinating mix of ideas, because you
Yeah.
also had Stuart Copeland.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you met these three guys in a bar, I don't know Sting, I'm just like everybody else.
Yeah.
But if you just met Andy Summers and Stuart Copeland in a bar, you wouldn't associate them.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because they have they're passionate. You can go that passion, but even the passion, Andy Summers way laid back on his passion, more introspective, and Stuart Copeland in your face. This is the way we do it. This is why we want to do it. This
Right.
is and
Yeah.
the fact that his father was a spy, you had to love that too.
Yeah. Yeah. When we had Stuart on, we're always looking for something. And one of the magic things about my show is when possible, I go to them. And so we go to whoever it is his house in Hollywood or whatever. I was down in San Diego last Wednesday. This Wednesday. What am I talking about? This Wednesday, I was down in San Diego, and I had on this Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, because I'm getting into jiu-jitsu as a way to try to take care of my body, as I get older. And he focuses on middle-aged dudes, and he's like, "Here's mindset. Here's what you say no to. Here's what you should avoid." And just kind of gives me the roadmap, because my dojo's great, but they are there to do a thing for a large group of people, and I'm going to be the oldest and probably the fattest guy in that place. Probably the entire time. Even if I get into good shape, I'm going to weigh more than everybody, just because I'm a pretty big guy. And I mean, in terms of muscles and mass in general, right? So how do I manage that? How do I be a good, so I went to this guy's house. When you go to someone else's house or to their studio, wherever it is, you become their guest. And I know how to be a great guest. That's a spy thing. And so when you allow someone to be a great host, they're a great host. And when you are a good guest, they want to be an even better host. And so you get into this dynamic. So we go to Stuart's house, John and I. At the time, our show was audio only. And he, Stuart's plugged in, switched on all the time. He's just a high energy guy. And he's like, "Do you guys want to see my music studio?" "Yes, of course. Like, whatever you want to do." And so we walked around and started recording. And he's like, "Digga, digga, digga, digga." He does like this whole routine, all impromptu, but he like grabs things and he plays an accordion and he grabs, he's just walking around his studio, just riffing and talking about music and instruments and where he got them. And it was super interesting, And then, because of his dad's background and his growing up with that, I said, I think John might have said, "Pete used to be a spy." That's what John would do. "Pete used to be a spy." And then he looks at me and, in Iraq. And so we broke into Arabic. Now, neither of us speaks Arabic very well, but we can be like, "Hey, what's up, man? How are you?" And he's like, "Yeah, it is all in Arabic. Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?" And then so we did, and they both kind of us just basically bounced out of our non-Arabic Arabic speaking, but there was a bona fides there. And he was like, "Yeah, this guy's no shit as a spy." And so I would say that Stuart elevated out of that Stuart Copeland mode and into a different mode with us, because we were able to break the ice in that way. When people talk about building rapport, I've studied it. I understand it. And so when you do these things that makes you relatable to people, you and I are from the Bay, we can relate. We can say things that be like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember when that happened," And so those things create a different vibe. And that's like the guitar on the wall or whatever that thing is. That's a spy technique. And so you're paying attention, right? And this is your thing, like, pay attention. I'm paying attention. I had a dude, I was on his show the other day. He's 85 years old and he's jacked. He's healthy, he's strong. He's a power lifter at 85, right? And I'm like, well, if I was sitting across from you, I can see across the camera that you have these hands that are not old man hands. They're strong hands. And I would have asked you about them. Like, How come your hands look so strong? What do you do? And now he's going to tell, he's like, going to point at the picture of himself flexing because it's right there behind him in his book. And he's going to say, I am a premier power lifter for dudes that are 85 and older. And he would be gone. I'd have him exactly where I want him, which is I'm not trying to control, but I got him galloping. And I don't care what direction he goes in. He's excited to run in that direction. I'm going to go on that ride with him because I know that wherever we go together, it's going to be gold.
Well, how did I start this? We're going to go down whatever rabbit hole you lead us down. Right?
Yeah.
So who knew? I was a spy back in my day. And it goes back to what I also said. It's one thing to know a little. Your amount of knowledge about everything is crazy good. I mean, I have more things I know about than others, but I know a little, at least reference thing.
Yeah.
I've always been impressed by your just ability to go deeper than I think your guests are prepared for you to go.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think that's another one of your little superpowers that you don't admit to. But that's the other thing that gets them is because, oh, yeah, you know a little bit. No, I know more. No, I know more.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden now, okay, now we're equals.
Yeah.
Now I'm not giving you just information. Now we're sharing information.
I spend a lot of time on,
dude.
I spend a lot of time on relatability. And, look, I am fortunate that I wouldn't say I'm smart, right? But I'm not like a genius or anything, but I have an excellent memory and I have the ability to apply some frameworks that I've built over the years to the things that I do. And they just work. Some of it's education, some of it's street smarts, but I can take, that knowledge. I know a lot about a lot. I was just watching today. I was watching UN speeches. I watched the big boss of Finland talking. I saw Netanyahu speak, and I parse that stuff. And so when I get someone who is somewhere near where I know about something, I may not even know about their thing, but I know about things that are adjacent. And then we look in that space in between, and that's a fertile space to explore. Here is a scenario. What do you think? And they go from there. And a lot of what I do, because of the things that I know, because of the recall that I have, I can ask open questions in a way that it's not common if you're not practiced at this. And when I say open questions, I don't mean just questions, avoiding questions that are yes, no. If I ask a yes, no question, it's designed almost every single time because I want to control the conversation and take it in a different direction. And so I'll say, hey, do you mind this? And they'll say, no, I don't. And then and if they say yes, I'm like, okay, well, I'll do it anyhow. Whatever it's going to be. But also if I use an interrogative, and I'll use interrogatives, but not in the common way. So the question might be an interrogative, but I've already opened it up. Because if I say, what time did that happen? That's very closed. I've put you into a very strict thing I want to know about. And so if I say something like, tell me about, or something like that, or the feelings that happened in that moment, and then they can say something else. They'll fill that in more openly. So I'm trying to be open and allow them to go in that direction. And I can always because I'm the boss, I can always bring them back. I can always rein them over this way or rein them over that way. But I want to go where they're excited to go. And if they keep being excited, even if they don't know where they're galloping towards, I'm comfortable enough because of my experience to go on that ride with them. And there's always some little bit of knowledge that I can put out in front of them to make them jump forward. And because I've read a lot of books and I've talked to a lot of people and I've been to a lot of places, there's just always something available to me that is going to be compelling to my guest, which makes it, in theory, compelling to the audience if they're along for the ride. And I hope that they are, but I kind of, this is another thing, I kind of don't worry about that. I don't really worry about the audience. If I like it, then I'm assuming that people like me will like it and they'll figure it out. And so that's sort of my approach to that. I don't worry about niches and all that stuff. What's interesting to me is going to be interesting to somebody else.
I like that. And I don't know about you, but I rarely ever listen or watch my own shows. And one of my people who work for me goes, why don't you? I said, because it's very easy to start performing for yourself.
Yeah.
You start trying to do the show. Oh, I wish I'd have done that. Oh, I did that. And then you start performing so you'll like it. I liked it when I did it.
Yeah.
So I'm done.
I think that's
I don't need to sit
reasonable.
back the future me. I don't need to accumulate the future me.
Yeah.
And have him watch it and go, great job, Gary.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
My counsel to people who are starting up shows, not you, but in general, is like you have to listen to yourself. Like when people say, "How do I monetize?" I'm like, "Well, listen to your show." Like, well, I can't stand my own voice. Well, then why can anybody else? You know, I'm not performing a voice, but I'm aware every second of what my voice sounds like. And when I get excited, it gets way up here in my head. And when I'm chilled out and I calm down, it goes back down into my chest. And so I'm aware at all times of where my voice is. I know the words I'm going to say. I might and ah and like a little bit, but if I choose not to, I can turn that off in an instant. I know when I say a swear word, it doesn't slip out. I'm doing it for color. So there is a performative aspect to what I'm doing, but that's because I'm producing something. I'm still being genuine. I'm still being authentic, but I am doing a professional version of Pete. Now, the real version of Pete's going to look a lot like the professional version of Pete, but maybe like, yeah, you're not going to see me get hammered on the show. I've tried drinking on the show; it doesn't work for me, so the times when I've done that are not very few and far between. And I don't get hammered in real life, but I'm not going to sit here and have 7 drinks while I'm talking to you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's a
Yeah.
there's a responsibility I have for the audience. And that professionalism has to come across in how I present myself, the way I ask the questions, the preparation I have. So anybody who's starting, you need to find whatever your bar is. And if you want to have none of that and just be raw, that's fine. And if you don't want to listen to your own stuff, that's fine. I would say, listen every now and then. Make sure that you're happy with how the show sounds from an audience point of view. Are they getting what they deserve?
Yeah.
Can you improve what you're doing?
I agree with that.
Right. And
Every
I
now
don't
and then
think that
gotta
you
do it,
would
because I have a
disagree either.
different. Yeah, and I've got a different background. I've heard me. I know what my voice sounds like. I know
Right.
who I am. I've been doing it since I was 13 years old. Right. So
Yeah.
I've got a track record of experience. I would give the same advice you would give to somebody who's just starting it.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, I got this. I've been doing this for a long time, and I also know what my foibles are. Not yours, but I know what my foibles are.
Right.
And I know I'll start performing to hear me, so I'll think it's, oh, well, that sounds good. Because the truth of it is, I'm improv. I'm reactionary.
Right.
And if I sit back and think, oh, well, I should have said this, then I'll start trying to say the line that I think I should have said instead of the line that continues the conversation.
Yeah.
Which in truth for me, and again, this is just for me,
right,
that works for me. And,
Yeah.
that's what I've always enjoyed about
I
yours.
think we agree
I know-
100% on that. Yeah.
I know your time is valuable because you got so many. I want to ask you one question before you go.
Please, I've got some time for you,
I
man.
have already asked you back. Do you have a dream guest? Do you have a guest that you wish
Yeah, I mean,
could get?
I want to tell you why I am all in on Bison Junk. First and foremost, they are a full-service, eco-friendly junk removal company, but with this difference. They focus on recycling and donating usable goods. Their customer service sets them apart, and they pride themselves on their integrity. They'll show up when they say they will, and they'll do what they promise. If you have hard-to-remove items like hot tubs or large furniture, they figure it out so you don't have to. They want to be who you always come back to when it's time to declutter and organize your home or business. They're worth every penny at bisonjunk.com.
Yeah, and my philosophy is I can get anybody. As long as they're doing media, I should be able to get them. Like right now, Matthew McConaughey seems like he's doing media, so I'm going to reach out. And if I got him, he's a dream guest. I'd blow my mind to get him. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be shocked, like, oh shit, it's really going to happen. But if I'm never surprised, like, wow, I can't believe that person said yes. Why would they ever say yes to me? It's not that. It's like, wow, what good fortune. He could pick 1,000 shows and I got it, But I'm also a show where people go. So yeah, Matthew McConaughey right now. There's Ice Cube said he's doing podcasts again right now. So I'm going to ask, and so I'm going to chase those guys. And those guys to me are gettable. I may not get them because it's highly competitive, but if I did, it would be like, yeah, of course I got those guys. And there's some other musicians that I'm looking at. I'd like to get Alan Jackson on the show. I'm not particularly a fan of Alan Jackson, but I'm like, oh, this guy's interesting. Let me get him on the show, And so it's guys like that. I would love to have Bono on the show. And there's all kinds of people like that I would love to have. Now, I'm using musical people as an example right now, but there's all sorts of people that I would like to get on. A guy I'm trying to chase is Mark Bodine. He's the president of the A's. And I'm hoping that I get to have him on the show because I think the A's are doing incredible things, and they're going in a wonderful direction where they have a chance to redefine what their existence is as a baseball team for the first time in like 40 years. So I'm excited about that for them. And those to me are dream guests where I'll work pretty hard. Your show, like my show, it often books itself. And so when I take a shot at somebody, I want someone like that or someone that's just really interesting or a friend. I love to have my friends on the show because they've known me from way before my show, and it's just always a good time to have them on and talk to them. So my answer to that is Bono is probably my dream guest, and then I would pick somebody else. I don't know, the King of England. Who knows? Like anybody I want. You know?
You know, King Charles, I don't think I'd want him because you could not get past the gate, right? This
Yeah.
guy is so regimented.
Oh yeah.
He would just not. He would not.
Yeah.
There's just certain people you go, no, I'm
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I'm not. And they're just so got the guard up. It's those guys like, and Matthew McConaughey, the gate is so far down
Right.
that, man, are you going to give me a different answer that you're going to give the guy that you just talked to yesterday?
I
Right?
know.
Because the guard is so far down,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But Bono would be interesting.
Yep. Bono
Like I
interesting.
said, Sting would be interesting.
Yeah. And those
I
guys
mean,
are
you might as well go for the whole, I was going to say, you might as well go for the whole trio. I mean, damn, you got 2 out of 3.
I know. Yeah. And I thought a lot about getting Steen to complete the set, but I don't want that to be the reason why I do it because that seems to me to be too self-serving, you know, but it's cool to say I've had all the members of the Police on the show. But yeah, I'd love to have a Sting on. And Bono tends to get a little soundbitey, right? Because he's got a message and he puts it out. I would love to take that away from him and just get him to be Bono if I can, you know. I thought about Gavin Newsom and I struggle with that because I'm not particularly a big fan. I'm not against him. I want him to do, I live in the state that he's the governor of. I want him to do well, but I don't know that he'd be honest with me. And I would almost certainly start with, I struggle with your honesty, you know, and do I want to have that episode? I don't know that I do. Right. And so, yeah, some of these guests that are dream guests.
Because he would try to make yours a platform for his stuff. He would just try to poo-poo it and deny and then do his platform. Same thing. I don't know if I would have Newsom because for me, I would come in there's no way I would not come in antagonistically because I've lived here for a long time and you sit back and you see some of the things we do and you go, why?
Yeah.
Why is this? And if you ask him straight up, here's what I've seen him on other shows. He'll just straight up lie to you or just straight up not answer.
Right. Yeah. And I've practiced that particular interview as I've driven and everything. Like, what would I do? How would I sort it out? And I haven't sorted it out. So I'm not going to, and I have asked before and they said, oh, ask again, you know, and I don't know if I was getting blown off or not, but it's possible for me to get him. But I want to make sure I understand why I'm doing it because I don't want to just antagonize him and I just don't want to be lied to. Right. But the approach of help me understand. And then whatever it is, you know, your approach to homelessness. Help me understand in the face of all this failure, our energy policy in this state, you know, so that I can be critical, but also fair. Like, help me understand what am I missing about this? Because there's a lot of things about energy in this state that is working. And there are smart people trying to sort this problem out. And I have to allow that to be true, whether or not I agree with the outcome. There's people trying to sort this out. And this is a hard place to govern. And I would say all those things to him. But do I need to have that show? Even though I think it would be cool, I don't know that I need to. And I have a very comfortable, free life professionally. I don't make enough money. I could always make more money, but I don't need to do something that necessarily rocks the boat if I don't know why I'm rocking the boat. So it's not that it's scary. It's just that I'm not sure why I need that show. And when I figure that out, then I'll ask.
I would love to have a very calm conversation with Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really would. I would love to sit back and go, here's what you've said because you're a public figure. Here's the things you've said in the past. And here's where you are now. And you need to make me understand. And I'll tell you straight up, I don't like ideologues on either side.
Yeah, me neither.
Explain to me why you're not an ideologue.
Yeah. I know
because
people
I've never seen you not take a certain side.
Yeah, and it's a very hard stance, right? So there's no allowance for an allowance of Trump to get anything right. You know, and Trump has built that world for himself, so he's antagonistic. So, okay, he deserves that. But it's not a good representation of who Jimmy Kimmel is based on the people that I know that know him. And they're all like, he's a wonderful guy. He loves to do charity things. He is a sweetheart, right? Well, I don't see that guy. I don't see that guy. And even if I was inclined to watch late night TV, which I don't, I wouldn't pick Jimmy. Because he's an ideologue, and I don't want that thrown at me, and I don't want to just see. I'm pretty critical of his guest choices when he doesn't when he wants to do certain things, but can't tolerate the other side of the political equation. And I'm not saying you have to kowtow or that kind of thing, but to not allow conservative anything, that's
Yeah.
you're not making a show for me because I'm not that guy.
Well, and that's my thing. I love Adam Carolla, and I know he's I don't know him. Maybe you do. But I know he's a great friend of Jimmy's. And even now, he just refuses to criticize Jimmy.
Right.
And he goes, because that's not the guy I know. And I respect that. And he's basically hinted, if you were making $30 million a year, you'd want to keep making $30 million a year.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. You wouldn't want to not have that job and that platform. And
Right.
if you took a position that they don't think is the right position, then you're going. And I'm like, yeah, but when is enough money enough money?
Right. Yeah.
Because they say, I read this thing and I'm sure you saw it, that billionaires, almost 100% of billionaires have psychopathic tendencies. Why? Because most of us, if you get 20 million or 80 million or $290 million, at some point you go, yeah, that's enough. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm out. Don't want to do the rat race. Don't want to do the pressure. I got everything I need for me and my family. We're out. Bye-bye.
Right.
But the billionaire goes, never enough. Never enough.
Those guys also sell things out on the life side of the equation. Like I want to be there for my grandkid. My nephew lost his dad, my brother, and I want to go see him play football. So I'll drive across the state to go see him play football because he's in high school now, and I only get so many games to do that. Right, a billionaire is going to figure some way to either do that easier or just not doing it because it's not going to be valuable enough to him to abide by the things. That's not a judgment, but there's a certain competitive nature, and those guys are very peaky in that end of accomplishment, but they're not great at day-to-day life. A lot of times they struggle with that. Not all of them, but that's a very common thing I've seen from peak people. They're very peak in their performance as well. And so when you look just past their peak range, like, oh, you're a very normal person all of a sudden, or maybe even not so agreeable all of a sudden because you're not where they're great.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. And that's it. That's it. So relating it back to Jimmy Kimmel, well, why wouldn't you be brave enough at some point to be who your friends say you are? Why you've been doing this show a long time. You literally have hundreds of millions of dollars now. When is enough enough? Are you just afraid of not having the platform and the attaboys? And again, I would like to try to do the interview just like this. I don't want to raise my voice. I don't want to call them names. I don't want to do anything. I just want to go, I need to understand why. As you said, help me to understand why this is the presentation.
Yeah.
And do you truly believe that everybody on the other side, and I would say this to the hardest MAGA guy in the world, do you really think all the people on the other side are horrible, despicable human beings?
Right.
That who should have no say so. And try to have that. And so, But hey, listen, when it comes to Dream Guest, I've got one off. I just checked one off my
that's so great.
of my box, man.
Yeah.
You're just the best. And I got so many other things, and we're gonna get around to it.
Let's do it.
Because I'm gonna sit back and go, how did you get this person? How did you do that? Who did it?
Probably have a story
who
for it.
surprised you?
Yeah.
Who surprised you? Who disappointed you?
Oh, I got disappointed.
Right? Because we've all done that. We've all had guests where they're just like, why did you agree to do this?
Yeah. I've had guests that I've booked and have died before I could get them on the show. And so there's all kinds of ways to have regrets, but you go for things and sometimes you get them. That's how it is. And I'm super stoked to come on. I'm super stoked to have you on my show, and let's just keep going, man. This is great. And I can't wait to meet you face to face. This was all, everybody watching, like, this is the magic of podcasts. You can talk to anybody about anything and develop a rich life from this, where I don't have to make $20 million. I don't know that I would need to make $20 million. Would I like to make more money? Yeah, I'd like to double my money. I would like to have a little more comfort financially because I don't have a whole lot. But at what cost? At the cost of the freedom that I have to have these conversations? I don't know that there's a corporation in America that I would even want to work for. And I don't know that they'd want me because I am such a wild horse now. That they don't know how to use me and corral me. And I know that they don't. And I know that I wouldn't behave. But that's one of the benefits of having a show, is that I can find my own way. And I've learned, and Jimmy Kimmel can learn this lesson. If Pete's going to tell Jimmy Kimmel what to do, he's going to be more valuable to himself not doing that show and just doing his thing on his air and just build his own machine. Adam will help him out in a second, right? I mean, and he would be 100% fine and probably make more money because he doesn't need that. He doesn't need any network. He's already got an audience, and now he can speak freely and have all kinds of people. He doesn't need them. He doesn't need them. Even if he made less money, there's going to be less cost to that money, and he's going to be more free to do what he wants to do. That'd be my advice. Like, why are you even bothering with network TV? Why? Like they don't own you. You don't need to trade your influence to get back on the show just go do what you want to do and let your audience directly remunerate you or in partnerships that you agree with on your own terms. There's all kinds of ad people out there. You can make all kinds of money. I'm never going to buy insurance on, title lock. But they do that if you want to do that. I would never run an ad like that because that's not a product I'd ever use. But there's all kinds of things that you can do on your own. I mean, if I can make some money, and again, not a lot, not nearly enough to justify the work that I put in. Well, he can certainly 100x me, and his life can't be so
because
expensive.
The rules are different when you're a national. When you're a national name, the rules are different.
Yeah,
you can host you can be the 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. anchor on Sports Center,
right?
And you could start a podcast today that would dwarf you and me within a week,
in an instant,
right?
Yeah,
because the national thing is just a completely different level,
right. Whereas if I can get 1,000 people to stuff $5 a month in my pocket, man, I'm living pretty good, and I don't want to build a business so that my job is running a business. I want to have enough money coming in so that I can do the thing that I have a more artistic approach to podcasting now. I don't want to go chase ads for $25 a month. I don't want to, I get these, you get these things too. I get these things all the time. Hey, let's collab. And I'm like, first off, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know you. You've just sent me email. And I always say, I don't know you. I don't even know if this is a real person or not, or if this is a robot email. I don't work with robots. I work with people. If you want to talk to me about something, you want to pitch me, here's my phone number. And they never call. So I don't chase any of those things because I'm not interested in it. I would rather, and this happens on occasion, I would rather someone out of the blue come in and say, Pete, I see what you're doing. Here's a check for $1,000. Man, that money, I will spend it in a second, and not on whiskey and hookers. Some of it maybe, but most of it's going to go into paying bills, right? I mean, I run a pretty lean ship. And so if someone dropped $1,000 on me, it's immediately going to go to easing my financial struggles. I'm going to put it to work right away. And people do this for me in some form or fashion. I'm saying 1,000. It's been more, it's been less, but every month. And I work my ass off for that money, but I get all of it. And so it's an amazing thing. And Jimmy could do that easy. He could do that easy and run a lean show where he hires a bunch of people. And those union people that work on that show, they're still going to work for ABC. They're still going to get a different gig. They're going to put something else in that studio and they'll have someone else do it and everything else. But that model isn't what it was. No one's ever going to be Johnny Carson again. And I don't know that you need to be Johnny Carson. You need to be whatever you're going to be, but you don't have to be Johnny Carson on a network. You can just go be whatever you want to be on this right here. That's it.
All right, for all of you P.J. Turner fans, if you want to send me $1,000, I'm your boy.
Yeah, me too. Don't
friend,
forget to send me a check.
Until the next time we talk, which will be soon, you're the best. It's the Break It Down Show. All the links are here. We've got all the stuff. And I'm telling you, you'll become as big a fan as I am. And we got more to talk about. He's done 2,000 episodes. We've got a lot to talk about. And we will. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.